I won't lie to you, I had some doubts about making this video. So I got a second opinion from somebody who is on this journey, doing the work, and is now opening the door to the other side. After some reflection, I come to the conclusion that sometimes not knowing something is better than knowing it. Before I delve deeper into this, I'm going to open up a little bit. I split this video into 8 different parts. Story time, realization, statistics in the UK, butterfly effect, the magic pill, monetizing mental health, the kicker, and the finale. Back in 2012, I went to my first college, and about a year and a bit into it, I started to struggle. Looking back now, it was the first year where I had my first experience with mental health. Long story short is, when I registered to college, I had to do a course that I didn't necessarily want to do, which was musical theatre. So then I could do the course that I did want to do, which was performing arts. Slowly, over the years, the feeling of me not having the confidence in myself with my ability to sing and dance started creeping up to me and getting closer and closer and closer. And I started to become anxious. I remember this show that we had to do in front of an audience. Friends were invited, parents were invited. The show was advertised all around college on posters. Anybody could come. For this show, we all had to sing a number from a musical. And I'm pretty sure the teacher picked your musical number for you. And I got Razzle Dazzle from Chicago. I was scared of the scale of the audience because of my lack of confidence in my ability to sing and dance. I felt like I was going to make a fool out of myself. And that honestly terrified me. So I did what a lot of people do when they face a problem. I ran away. I stopped attending classes as much. I stopped caring, and I associated anything to do with college negatively, including my other classes. The more I put it off, the more the anxiety built. These musical numbers, they weren't just solo musical numbers, you worked in groups. So I was letting other people down as well. And honestly, I started feeling depressed because of this. I knew what I was doing, but I didn't feel like I was actively doing it. I had a few meetings at the college with my teachers and my parents, and I just told them I wanted to leave. I didn't know what I wanted to do. All I knew is that I wanted to leave. I wanted to run away and never have to return. Because at the time, I believed if I ran away, I would stop letting people down. Have you ever been in one of those positions where you've missed something so much, like college or uni or work, that the thought of just going back absolutely terrifies you? And that thought just builds up brick by brick until you're up against this massive wall that you just can't break down. So I was off college for quite a while, and then I decided to come back for the Christmas performance. Again, it was performing to the same kind of audience, parents, friends, anybody that your parents or friends invited. Posters were put up all around college. It was advertised everywhere. And straight from the get-go, I felt like I had this added looming expectation over my head because I hadn't rehearsed with the rest of the class. So I felt like they were relying on me more than they might normally rely on me. Not long after this performance, I tried to keep pushing and listening to the advice that my teachers and my parents were saying. But in the end, I felt like the best thing for me to do was leave. The reason I'm telling you guys all this is because today I count myself as lucky. Around that time, mental health was not talked about really at all. Definitely not as much as it is today. And I feel like if I would have lived through that experience maybe 4 or 5 years ago, the college would have referred me to a mental health team. I would have gone to the doctors, and then most likely I would have been diagnosed with either anxiety or depression, or maybe even both. Just to give you some real life statistics in the UK of why I believe I would have been given medication. All these statistics I'm about to give you are people between the ages of 15 to 90. I was 17 when I had this experience. So the earliest I can go back in these records are between 2015 and 2016. Between 2015 and 2016, 153,633 young people were prescribed antidepressants. Now between 2022 and 2023, 183,693 people were prescribed antidepressants. Personally, I see this as a big increase. However, I looked further into the document and I looked at specific items. In 2015 and 2016, 700,973 items were prescribed to young people. In the years 2022 and 2023, 1,109,522 items were given to young people between the ages of 15 to 19. This means in 8 years, the number increased by 408,549. So, I think it's fair to say I would have been put on medication if this experience happened within the last 4 or 5 years. The truth is, I would probably still be on that medication now, because I would have gone to the doctors and I would have trusted them. And then I would have convinced myself that I needed that medication. This thought honestly terrifies me. I would have been putting something in my body that would be affecting my brain and my body that I wouldn't need. During this phase of life, or this season, or whatever you want to call it, I didn't have depression or anxiety. I was experiencing anxiety, and a depressive state followed along behind me. We are supposed to feel sad, down, depressed, and anxious at times. If we weren't, we wouldn't understand what happiness or sadness was, because without one, you can't have the other. It's like having music without silence. In the fitness world and social media, you might have seen that people were talking about cooking with non-stick metal pan, which release chemicals that we shouldn't be breathing in. Recently, it's become more common knowledge that seed oils are not good for us. And now, all of a sudden, people are panicking and they're buying new pan sets and they're eating food with less seed oils, which is absolutely fine. That's their choice. But here's the problem with that, and I know that some of you might disagree. From what I've witnessed, the majority of the time, the people that are buying new pan sets and avoiding seed oils are the people that aren't working on their health consistently. They aren't working on the basic foundations: sleep, diet, and exercise. This is where I draw the parallels. Some of the people that are being put on this medication are having the hardest times of their lives. I absolutely agree. However, there are some people that need to be dealt some hard truths and asked some difficult questions. It's important to acknowledge right here that you may not be ready for these kind of questions, and that's okay. For the people that are, this is who I'm directing those questions at. Are you trying to eat better for your own health? Maybe have less alcohol, less caffeine, have one less cigarette a day. Are you exercising at all? I'm not talking bodybuilding or resistance training. I'm talking walking a bit more, doing yoga, working on your cardiovascular health in any way at all. Or are you with the rest of the people that are waiting in line for this magic pill that they believe is going to fix everything? Because from my experience, having worked with people who struggle with their mental health, they truly believe that this pill is going to miraculously make themselves feel better. And that's just not the case. It's not there as a cure. It's there to help and to aid, but you have to meet it halfway. You can't let it do the work for you. It won't do the work for you. I mentioned at the beginning of this video that I asked my friend for a second opinion, and they introduced me to the word medicalization. The most fitting description that I can find is this: the process by which aspects of human life become medical problems. It's made to make us feel that the things we are feeling are abnormal, and yet again we need to fix something about ourselves. I'm sure you can see how this could be benefiting the drug companies. This wouldn't be the first time that companies are taking advantage of the consumers, right? Or businesses have made money from the poor. I was listening to a podcast the other day with a woman called Freya India, and she mentioned that right now on TikTok, people are making trends around SSRIs. She says that antidepressants are becoming fetishized and people are making money from other people with mental illnesses. Let that sink in for a second. You can now buy things like SSRIs phone cases, key rings. There's phrases like hot girls take Lexapro, sexy girls take sertraline. Let's zoom out for a second. Who's really benefiting from this? Who's making profit from this? Honestly, it just makes me feel like people do not believe they are strong enough anymore. They aren't strong enough to deal with the cards that they've been dealt, because I'm nobody special. I was going through a shit period in my life, and we all go through shit periods in our lives. But here's the true kicker. Around that time that I was struggling, mental health was not talked about at all, especially for men. And through feeling like I had to sort this out myself, eventually I did. And it wasn't through pure resilience or an overnight change. Looking back now, the biggest factor was time. I needed time to go work things out for me, not my college teachers, not my friends, not my classmates, not my parents, but for me. I had to go through trial and error to figure out what I wanted and what I needed and how I could get myself out of this rut. And I think a lot of people are trying to shorten that time, and they're trying to look for a shortcut or a diagnosis to get that magic pill. And they are doing this without looking deeper into themselves or confiding in those around them or even going to therapy. My point is this: because I didn't really know anything about mental health, I didn't ask. And because I didn't ask, I just had to live in that discomfort until I figured it out and work it out over time. I could be a very different person right now. I could be on medication that I definitely don't need, and that may change in the future, but not before I try everything in my power to help myself. Sometimes you're going to have off days, off weeks, or off months, and you're going to start believing that something is really wrong. And because the most important story to us is the story we tell ourselves, this can be an extremely hard thing to shake. And this is why I'm going to ask you these questions, and I want you to answer these in your head. Have I, or am I, trying to help myself right now? Or am I just looking for that get out of jail free card, that quick shortcut to skip the work that will one day come back around and bite me in the arse later in life? I really do appreciate it if you got to the end of the video. As always, I would love to hear your thoughts and feelings on this video. Did it help you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you hate me now? Do you want to watch more videos? Like, how do you feel? I'm always interested in what you think. Personally, I really enjoyed making this video. And in terms of writing and rewriting and research, I really hope that's reflected throughout this video.